Red Letter Jesus, Sermon on the Mount, Part 2. Incredible sermon, incredible message, incredible how Jesus took the law and broke it down, didn't abolish it. He fulfilled it in ways that people could understand what was behind the law. The spirit of the law was love. And so Jesus is talking honestly about all these things in that one sermon, preached on that mount on that certain day, so that people would understand what it means to be a citizen of the kingdom, not of their country, not patriots to their government, but true citizens of heaven. True citizens of heaven. We have to keep that in mind. We are truly citizens of heaven first, and then wherever we were planted, second or third. But he gets to the part about the commandment about thou shalt not commit adultery. And Jesus said, and this is chapter 5, verse 27, you've heard it said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. That's serious. Jesus said, if you've already taken that woman in your heart, then you've already committed the act. You've already desired her and taken her and used her as an object rather than as a person, rather within the bounds of love. You just did it to fulfill your lust. And so Jesus goes on to say, listen, if your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It's better for you to lose one part of your body than to let your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to go into hell. Now, again, someone said, we don't see that many one-eyed, one-less-handed Christians because Jesus is talking again about the spirit of the law, which is love. In other words, love God more than you do the desires of your flesh. Love God and seek to please God with your spirit, with your mind, and yes, your body. And so control what you see, control what you do. Years ago, you learned the little song. I learned it. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. For the Father up above is looking down with love. So be careful, little eye, what you see. And it goes through other parts. I'm lucky I remember that much. But in other words, control what you see. Your mind plays a big part in what images it receives and how it's translated. And so Jesus is saying, if you're always going to the gutter with your thinking, then you'll end up in the gutter. But if what you see elevates you and lifts you up spiritually, then you're headed in the right direction. Then he talks about divorce. It has been said, anyone who divorces his wife must give her a certificate of divorce. But I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, makes her the victim of adultery. Anyone who marries a divorced woman commits adultery. Again, marriage is serious. Marriage, it is hoped, would be a lifelong commitment. Marriage, it is hoped to be kept beautiful and spiritual and everlasting. But we understand there's sometimes when you must get out of abusive, harmful relationships. You must get out of situations that put you or your children in danger. And so depending on the church you attend, the different circumstances or outcomes that they recommend or tell you to avoid. But I tell you, get out if you need to get out. Don't stay in it just to stay in it. A lot of times you lose more than what you gain. But be prayerful, reflective about it. Talk to God. Talk to your pastors. Talk to trusted friends that are spiritual, that you look up to in the faith, and figure it out in terms of how serious marriage needs to be. How did you enter into marriage? Why did you enter into marriage? Why do you want to get out of it now? Reality is, Jesus talked about the certificate of divorce back during the Exodus. People would have the liberty, or men, I should say, would have the liberty to throw out the women's possessions and put it outside their tent while they had gone to draw water or go and do what they needed to do. When they'd come back, they'd wonder, well, why are all my things in the front of my tent? And the man simply would say, I no longer want you. Get lost. And so they went to Moses, complained to Moses, and Moses said, well, anyone who wants the divorce must now issue his wife a certificate of divorce. In other words, this will be evidence to the woman that you no longer want her. Not a fair system, but at least there was clarity in what was once cloudy and misunderstood. But Jesus is saying, do away with the cloudy, do away with the bad, and stick to what is righteous and what is good. Then Jesus said, again, you've heard that it is said to the people long ago, do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made. But I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by the earth, for it is God's footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great King. And do not swear by your hand, for you cannot make even one hair white or black. All you need is to say simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. In other words, Jesus is saying, be people of your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you say you're not going to do something, don't do it. Anything beyond that, well, you're pushing the limits. You're testing God by thinking you're just testing someone else. No. Be people of your word. If you say yes, then yes. If you say no, then no. Then Jesus said, you've heard that it was said, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. That was the law of retribution. Again, ancient law, because the inclination was, if someone hurt someone in my family, I'm going to kill that person. You probably heard it. You might have even said it. You might have seen a movie or two that was all about that. But the ancient law was the law of retribution. If you got into a fight, someone plucked out your eye, or someone knocked out your tooth, then the most says, well, you're free to go and knock that person's tooth out, or take that eye out. I know that's barbaric, but compared to the extreme, someone knocks out my eye, I'm going over there, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to unalive them, as they're saying now. No, Jesus said that was the law of retribution. But Jesus said further, but I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek as well. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. Here is still under the eye for eye sort of understanding. Jesus said, avoid fights. Be persons of peace and understanding. Be persons of patience. Be persons who seek not to be into violence, but to avoid it, if possible, in all things. Even in court, don't draw it out. And then the one about if someone asks you to go 1 mile, go with them, that was a Roman law. We don't preach often enough about this. If a Roman soldier came and patted you on the back with the flat of his spear, not the actual spear, that was your understanding that he wanted you to carry his pack for 1 mile. That was the law. If you refused, the spear would be turned a different way, and he had the right to kill you because you refused to carry out an order from the Roman government. And Jesus said, if you get asked or forced to go 1 mile, freak them out and go 2 miles. I remember when that became more of a financial thing. I remember the second mile giving or second mile campaign when, give a little bit more, go an extra mile in your giving and not just the first mile. In other words, be generous. But as Jesus is saying it, be people that go beyond what is expected. And then as we close out chapter 5, Jesus said, you have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. That's what the world says. That's what the world expects. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. If you love those who love you, what reward would you get? And are not even the tax collectors doing that? And if you greet only your own people, what are you doing more than others? Do not even pagans do that? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. Wow. Do what God would expect, not what the world expects. God says, love your enemy. Love your enemy. And love all people, not just the ones that love you back, but love those who care less for you. And be people that blow people away because they are doing the unexpected. They're living upside down. They're living in a new way. They're living in a radical way. They're living in a way that only God could have suggested or commanded, because we care about one another. And hear this, I care about you. I pray you have a great day. I pray you be a person radically changed because you know the red letter Jesus. I'm Pastor Adi Valverde. Please know that I love you and I thank God for you. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.